Seemed like Speaker Boehner's fortunes were changing. His debt ceiling proposal was reevaluated by the Congressional Budget Office, and he pitched that plan to Republicans in the House with some very persuasive language, as he explained on right-wing radio this morning.
Is it true that you told some of the Republican members this morning that you need to get your A word in line behind this debt ceiling bill?
I sure did. Listen, this is time to do what is doable.
Joining us now from Washington for the very latest is John Stanton, reporter for Roll Call newspaper. Nice to have you, John.
It's good to be here.
So, I find myself in the strange position of actually sort of rooting for John Boehner here, for him to do well, for him to have a better day today than he had yesterday. Do you think it's fair to say that he, in fact, did have a better day today?
Compared to yesterday, certainly. I think today, it would have been hard for him to have a worse day, frankly, than yesterday. You know, he had Jim Jordan coming out saying he didn't have the votes. He had a lot of his own members were very, very skeptical. Then, of course, the CBO came out and said that his bill to raise the debt limit didn't have as much savings as he thought it was going to have. He had to pull back from that. You know, so yesterday certainly was pretty rough. Today has been much better. He's had, you know, a number of members who were on the fence have come out now and said that they will vote for the bill. CBO gave him a better score on his rewrite. You know, he seems to have a little bit of momentum going. So on those metrics, I think it is a better day, yeah.
Again, typically I wouldn't necessarily find myself rooting for kind of Republican ideological coherence and cohesiveness, but it does seem like if anything is going to happen to move this debt ceiling forward or up, as the case may be, that we're going to need Republicans to have confidence that Boehner is their leader. Right now, how would you judge whether or not he has that confidence in support of his caucus?
I think he has the confidence of his conference for now. There is a much larger question about whether or not he can maintain that after maybe Monday or Tuesday of next week, depending on what happens with this debt limit vote. If Jim Jordan and conservatives are successful in beating back his bill tomorrow and it falls on the House floor, I think you're going to see a lot more the willingness amongst Republicans to stand up to him and to say no. He's going to have a lot more difficult corralling them for stuff like the looming appropriations fight, where we're going to have another government shutdown kind of situation in September. And you know, this is really the moment that is going to define the rest of his speakership. And you know, right now most rank and file Republicans aren't willing to question him or to question his leadership ability, but I think a lot of them are keeping a very close eye on his relationship with conservatives.
So if he loses this vote, does he lose his job?
No, I don't think so. I think he keeps his job certainly through the end of this session of Congress. What happens then is could be an open question, frankly. Eric Cantor is a very ambitious person. He's the majority leader and would, in theory, be sort of next in line. If they don't do well in the election and they lose some seats, you could see an effort to try to replace him. If a lot of his moderate members and old school members are lost to younger Tea Party types and other hardline conservatives, he could see a challenge then regardless of how the rest of the next 18 months go. So yes, it depends on sort of what's going to happen for him.
Well, now let's say it goes the other way. Let's say he wins the vote, they manage to get this thing out of the House. Is it dead on arrival in the Senate? Is this, for all the work that he may do to herd these cats around him, will it all be for naught?
I don't think it's going to have any traction in the Senate. You know, the Senate Democrats today came out and said that they were all going to vote against it, so that's 53 votes against it right there, which means it's dead in the Senate. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's all for naught. He is trying to position his conference for the final deal that is going to come out sometime towards the end of the week or over the weekend on a debt limit increase. And the biggest challenge that he's had, and that he continues to have, frankly, is convincing his conference that they need to compromise with Democrats and they need to give in on some pretty big issues. And the biggest problem for him, frankly, is that most of his members, or a large portion of his members, don't believe they need to. They just simply don't see the necessity. So that's what he's struggling with.
Thanks for your clarity on that. John Stanton, reporter from Roll Call newspaper, thanks so much for your reporting and have a great evening.
Thank you.